Hi, how are we? Welcome to my very first webinar. To say I'm nervous is a bit of an understatement, so please be kind to me. You're very welcome to our first webinar, as I said, on EU funding for creatives. And this is actually part of a wider Erasmus Plus project, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about later, because we secured European funding to deliver this, and basically you can too. So we've a lot of information to get through. I've probably put in a lot more resources than we're going to get through in this 45 minutes, but at least it gives you a good starting point, a foundation, and then you can do more investigation there afterwards. So again, thanks a million for joining us, and we'll get started. Oh, sorry, two things. Thanks to the EU, and thanks to our technical team, Grace, who's here with me. Great. Okay. So at this point you can see the screen, and I'm going to take you through the presentation that we have prepared. Please feel free to use chat to pose questions. The webinar will be recorded and available afterwards, and you will receive an email with all the details in it, because there's video links in here that I want you to look at, and lots of other resources that you want to take on board after this. So basically we're helping creative organisations want to find out more about EU opportunities. Some top tips in making that funding application is where we're going to start. Then we're going to look at kind of the key funding stream, which is the Creative Europe programme. We're going to look at opportunities available then through the EU lifelong learning programmes, which is typically Erasmus, which is what we're funded under. And we're going to look a little bit about crowdfunding platforms that specialise in the creative sector. And these are really important and becoming more important, and definitely worth your consideration. Again, the disclaimer is here, so this information is correct as of January 2017. So basically, what really encourages me is that the EU has described the creative and cultural industry sector, and I love the way they've brought cultural into the realm there, but they recognise themselves that it's undervalued and under-recognised, particularly in terms of accessing finance, and you know that as well as everybody. So what are they going to do about it? They have set up a number of priorities, I suppose, and what they're going to try to do is help change skill needs by promoting innovation through education. And we are all educators. Every creative that I know and work with has an educational remit. Or if you don't have, you possibly could have, and it could be a valuable source of income, so I'd really encourage you to look at it. They really want to encourage mobility of artists, and by artists they mean all creators, to move throughout Europe, to learn from each other, to experience best practice in a very, very practical way. And then at a higher level they're looking at reform of regulatory environments and getting more market access and investment in creative and cultural industries. They've implemented a series of actions and initiatives, including Creative Europe and other sources. So where you see blue here, when you get your email from us, you will be able to click on all those links and do more research. Okay, so some of my Ignite creative entrepreneurs who are in training in Ireland at the moment will recognise this, but basically, you know, like making a cake, EU funding applications depends on the ingredients, which is basically you, your partners that you choose to collaborate with in the project, and your project idea, and following their recipe basically. So before we get started, I suppose I always encourage people to stop thinking about the money. Don't think about the financial reason that you want to attract EU resources, but what is it about your project that's going to make a difference, and why should that be done in a European context? Regularly we learn much more by looking outwards than we do it ourselves. So things that you might be trying to achieve, you know, something like internationalization of your own career or the careers of others that you are working with, give young people the chance to study overseas in an artistic capacity, or in your case you could welcome others from overseas to come and study with you. This whole transferring of skills and competencies and know-how among your peers is extremely powerful, and that could be one thing that you're trying to achieve, or just getting really good practice as well as new business and ways of doing business and running a creative industry business. It's really essential that you do your homework, so researching and absorbing what the funding streams are looking for is really, really important. you need to look at each funder's, what their criteria are and how your project matches their aims and objectives. So basically, you know, why they will fund your project as a really good match for what they're trying to achieve. So that research phase is very, very important. You need to read the guidelines published by the funders. As I go through them, I'm going to be giving you links to those guidelines. Can I say sometimes they're off-putting? There's a lot of documentation, but it really is worthwhile picking out kernels, using the language that they use and bringing that into your application. You know, their motivation, what format of applying, it's all done online now. The level of funding varies from 100% back down to 60% typically. Deadlines, what's eligible and not, and how they make their decisions. So getting to grips with all that information. One thing I really encourage people to do is to go into each of the funder websites and look and see what has been funded in the past. What have they invested in? What do their partnerships look like? What are their deliverables? Because it will give you a very good feeling for the caliber, the type of actions that they're funding and whatever. So do some research. Particularly, you'll see it later, we're trying not to replicate what others have done in the past. So by you doing something new is very, very good. Why are we doing all this bit of groundwork is that, you know, funders tell us that 50% of the applications that they receive don't meet their criteria, which means they're not even assessed. They go straight in the bin. So imagine putting all that effort in and having nothing as a result of it. So read the guidelines really, really carefully. One of the projects that get through then, typically, and sorry, should I say, of the 100% that apply, only 20%, 1 in 5 is funded. But when you think that, you know, 1 in 2 goes in the bin, the funding rate isn't as stark as it's deemed, so stay with it. So basically, what is the what difference will the funding make to your organisation and the people that you're trying to assist? It's really competitive. You need to sell your project and the people, the consortium who would be the other partners involved in your application. Can I say that typically European projects involve at least one other partner? They cannot be carried out in isolation. So you need to have at least one other partner for a mobility project, which I'll explain later, and 3 others then for most other applications. That would be 3 countries, including yourself, that form a consortium. Typically that becomes much, much more, and you attract good partners based on their skills. And I'm going to share you some matching some match funding in ideas as well. So be creative, be challenging and engaging about your ideas. Sell, 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 and why that idea is going to have some EU impact. This is your opportunity to stand out from the competition. Building your own credibility and your partner's credibility is really professional. It is really important. You know, really put work into why you have a good track record and why you're capable on your others of delivering the program. Don't assume that they know anything about you. I suppose when I'm working with creatives, I'm always so impressed with, you know, the caliber of the work that you produce. So when you're doing a funding application, I'd ask you to be just as good. One thing that will really get you up that scoring criteria or the scoring scale is when you can back up your application with some evidence of need. So it's not good enough to say we know or we think. Back it up with relevant research and evidence of need. So things like letters of support from those that you work with, or, you know, organisations like the arts officer in your county or whatever, just that they are giving an independent view that this project is needed. Do a small survey of who you're trying to help. This will give vital extra points. It can be the difference in passing and failing. So again, break down the application into bite-sized pieces, make it easy for people to read it, use engaging language, use subtitles, really powerful. People don't use them anymore, but, you know, little paragraphs and separated. And don't overpromise, because sometimes we're all guilty of being overambitious when we're writing applications, but then sometimes that can work against us when we get going. This is just literally about the style that you write it in. Please be lively, journalistic, use energy and spirit of your project. Make sure that comes across. Show that it's additional, not competing with others, and by looking at past applications you will see that. Oh Lord, do I know this one. It takes much longer to put together an application for funds than you think. So give yourself plenty of time. Don't take out the application form the day before. It doesn't work. You're only wasting your time. So, put in place a plan for completing the application. And last but not least, in each country, in each program, there's a national contact point. Talk to them. They regularly run information sessions, and it's really good to go to them with your idea and explain it, because they will give vital guidance. So we're going to get into what funding is actually out there. Just going to check, is everything all right on the, yeah? Perfect. So Creative Europe, you've probably heard of it. It's now the main funding stream for the European Commission to support cultural and creative sector. The transnational projects of same, and they support projects, networks and platforms in Europe. So who can apply? Basically, individuals, I'll start with the negative. Individuals cannot apply, but organisations or networks or institutions can. And what I mean by that, it doesn't sound, I don't mean it to be in any way off-putting. If you are a weaver and you work with 3 other weavers, you have now the potential to be an association or an organisation or a network that's working for common good or for the good of your sector. Same with theatre, same with drama, any creative industry where others come together with you. And I'm going to share an example later of one that's just as 3 different discipline people that came together and were successful in funding. So the Creative Europe is the platform for that, and the link to it is on the notes there. What you also have in the notes is a really good video. I'm not going to play it now because it's a little bit long, but it'll give you a good feeling for what's in it for you, and that's what we all want to know. So we're going to look at 3 strands of this culture sub-programme. We're going to look first of all at Creative Europe networks, and these are a done deal basically. They were set up in 2014, and there's 23 of them across very different elements of the creative industries. They are pan-European membership-based structures, and in total there's about 4,000 of them. Everything music, design, heritage, performing arts, festivals, education, research. Why I mention them is it's really valuable for you to be a member of them, because not only can you say that you're a member of them, you then can avail of opportunities that they pose that will allow you to get involved in European projects, in transnational networks, etc. So basically what they do is they help internationalize your career, collect and promote good practice, as well as new business models, and transfer skills. So they're very much reflecting what we saw earlier in the program. I'm going to guide you to this really good directory of the networks that I mentioned earlier. There, as I said, there's 23 of them. They're really good. You'll benefit from them. Free membership. Sign up to what they have to offer, get involved, the study visits, there's lots of opportunities. So that will give you a starting point to understand what your industry is doing within the European context. The second strand really is a European project, and this is our European cooperation. This is allowing organisations to promote cultural and creative works across Europe. Mobility, they keep referring to mobility, and that literally is the physical being in the other country, and they're very keen to see artists and creatives move and collaborate and work with each other. One of the other key objectives that keeps coming up is that they want this funding to help your creative business reach new and larger audiences. So increasing revenue, it has a 2-pronged approach to increase business for you, but also allowing people to enjoy and to benefit from what your creativity is in Europe. So it's all about that innovation and creativity. 2 types of funding under this cooperation measure, and I suppose most of us will fit under category 1, the small scale operation projects. And for this you need a minimum of 3 partners, a project leader and 2 other partners from 3 eligible countries. Most countries are eligible actually. The UK leaving Brexit means that they are still eligible, and even third outside the EU countries are eligible as well. Turkey is involved and very active in creative industries. So basically it means that this consortium of partners, these 3 partners, or more can apply for a grant of up to €200,000, which is 60% of the eligible costs. So 40% of match funding must be put in. Now this typically is put in terms of your own time, non-cash, and also then if there's any income generated as part of the project. So typically match funding doesn't pose a barrier to participation. The larger projects then needs at least 6 partners, a project leader and 5 others from 6 EU countries, much bigger budget, 2 million, and that funding is at 50%. But again, it's unlikely if you're starting off on an EU funding basis, definitely category 1 is for you. Let's look at the success rate. In 2016, it was just 13% for small-scale projects, but I'm encouraging not to despair, because we saw that half of the projects were ineligible, and I think using really well-written applications that look and see what the funder priorities are, you will definitely increase your chances of success. I've given some examples. I know that we've our dance representative with us today, and a theatre representative, and some really good examples of projects that have. The first one is moving using inclusion, dances and inclusion for people with disabilities, a really exciting project, and the other is about a platform for European theatre. So brilliant projects, well worth looking at. It'll give you an idea of what they look like. Again, I have to encourage you to look through the past applications and see they're structured, and there's the web link for them. You'll be able to see it. Large-scale projects are much more difficult, and in 2016 there was actually no Irish applications at all. You would be surprised the lack of Irish applications that go in through Creative Europe. It's actually disappointing, so I think it's something we all need to encourage. So the third one is European platforms of the 3 strands. So this is a platform comprise 1 coordination entity and a minimum of 10 member organisations. So again, it would be maybe somebody like in the west of Ireland, it could be a local authority, an arts officer applying and having 10 different organisations underneath that supporting the application, that type of application. And it's about building new audiences, networking activities, and promoting artists and creators, especially new and emerging talents and their work. So again, it ticks all the boxes of what we wanted to do, but it's actually accessing it. So financial support is available to the members of this platform for European programming. So this covers all the costs of getting you and your production to Europe, and working on this shared and artistic cultural vision with your partners. Getting more circulation of people's work and getting international exposure, and then promoting and showcasing at least 30% of emerging talent from other EU countries. So new talent is very much there. When they mention artists, they mean multimedia, they mean every film, every discipline within the cultural and creative industry sector. This is a big grant. This is up to €500,000 or 80% of the total. Each individual member within that platform cannot exceed 60,000, which would be very nice if we could attract it, but definitely worth looking at. That one actually is open at the moment, and the deadline is the 6th of April, and the thing is there. So basically, how do you get your hands on some of this money? Each country has a European Creative Europe desk, and that they act as a gateway. In Ireland, that's run through the Arts Council, and basically they run information days, workshops, seminars, and alert services. Can be very, very helpful. My advice is to have your idea well researched and well ready by the time you go to them, because I think you're looking for them to refine your idea rather than give you ideas, and that sometimes is where people can be off put. So do your research, then go and talk to the national contact point. And in case you're feeling completely daunted at this point, one of the things that I encourage new organisations to look at in terms of EU funding is try to get involved in a partnership that's been written by somebody else and it's been led by somebody else, a like-minded organisation. And how do you find these? Well, online, of course. I better not say what I was going to say. It's like the Tinder of EU funding, but not really. So basically, Culture Agora is a very interesting one, and it's connected with the arts, and it's literally an online meeting place for all types of cultural organisations, professionals within the creative industry sector. Big or small, you can post activities, what you're doing, a video, and as well as getting the visibility, you can actually ask to get involved in or put out a call for other collaborators to come on board with you. Really useful. It's something that you need to check and get a presence on, and actually get active in. Another one that I use myself is Up to Europe, and it's a free funding alert service, and this is the one that I mentioned to you earlier. It's the association that's mentioned here is an Italian association comprising of 3 people: an artist, a digital media or digital technical audiovisual company, excuse me, and a local development organisation. And they were able to put themselves together as an association and apply as this network, a non-profit network. So again, they run a really good funding alert service and a search capacity. You put up your profile, and according to keywords, people find you. It's really, really powerful, and it's worked for me quite a bit in the past. Another one that's really handy to use, basically I look at it through Facebook, is On the Move, and it's regular and one-off opportunities available. So the information is out there. It takes some amount of networking online to find it, but it's very, very worthwhile to do that. For our film organisations, there is a specific strand of Creative Europe that's dedicated to the EU film and audiovisual industry, and the focus of this is for the developing, distribution and promotion of your work, and the maximum value of this is €1 million. The type of organisations that can apply are independent production companies, independent audiovisual companies, European entities such as non-profit organisations, town councils, foundations, etc. I have a lot more slides on this on the handout that I will send you. But again, their open calls are available, like their Facebook page, and you will stay connected. You make brilliant contacts, and those contacts can lead to creating an EU platform. I'm going to move on to the lifelong learning programs, and typically this is Erasmus, and I suppose many of us think of Erasmus as being a study abroad program, but it's much, much wider than that. It's for all types of education, training, youth and sport, in brackets in our case. So basically what it tries to do is encourage European exchange, cooperation and learning, and this is for all sectors of formal, informal and non-formal education. And I mentioned earlier, we are all educators. So what it's trying to do is modernise the way and the quality of teaching and youth work across Europe, and get transfer of innovation practices happening in a much more cohesive and active way. It's open to private or public organisations, schools, those involved in community work, youth work, etc. in any of the participating countries. I've put Ryanair here because I suppose it gives us the opportunity to travel, work and volunteer and study abroad. Again, like most European funding, project applications from individuals themselves are not accepted, but individuals can apply with the support of their organisation. So this organisation is really, really important. In Ireland, the national contact point for Erasmus is Lergas, and they're really helpful, lergas.ie. I have put a link to the UK Erasmus Plus website and an information session that they ran that will bring you straight to the information that you need. So examples of some of the youth-focused arts programs funded by Europe, and the web links are involved are on the handout that you'll get emailed to you. These are YouTube videos that have been done. Makeshift Ensemble was about sharing innovative theatre practice. Galway Community Circus as a really strong European outlook, and has been involved in a number of European partnerships, all made possible through Erasmus. And another one is a Crooked House in Kildare ran a really interesting training course in drama facilitation for young people. So what we're finding is that arts organisations or media organisations are using this non-formal learning methods to address social issues. So whether it be dealing with any of the social challenges that Europe faces, programs are welcomed in those themes. So I just want to get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty on the on what the programme looks like. For yourselves, I would be encouraging to look at two strands, what category your organisation fits into. So VET is vocational education training, and that is education that prepares people for work, and youth, the non-formal and informal learning opportunities. And the links to the really good UK information sessions are given there, but the same information applies in most cases, but just check with your national agency because the deadlines can change for the youth ones. There are more calls in some countries than others. So basically this few key actions that we're going to look at, there's 3 in total. We're going to look at 2 that are relevant for yourselves. So key action 1 is about learning mobility for individuals, and that simply means travel from one country to another for the purpose of learning or professional experience. So again, it allows organisations to send volunteers, staff, members, students, trainers, young people to another European country to undertake some element of learning or professional experience, and that can be job shadowing, volunteering, training, whatever. For the under vocational education, that period of study is from 10 days to 12 months, and either learners are hosted in a workplace or an organisation or in a school. It depends on what the partners are involved. What I want to explain is about what the budgets look like. So we're in Erasmus lifelong learning, where we'll say, for example, that six students from Slovakia are going to come over and study in Ireland doing a dance workshop or dance training program for 10 days. So basically what happens is that the application is made and the budget breaks down that for that distance, each participant coming over, the budget for that is $275 per participant for travel. The host organisation, so if you're hosting this, you get €350 per participant, and that you can have up to 100. Any special needs supports that needs to happen to help anybody participate is up to 100%. The subsistence based on each country is between 25 and €100 for Ireland for 4 days, and then it's reduced to 70%. But basically the host organisation receives this money and puts up, accommodates, feeds and looks after the learners in their area. So for example, they also receive a course fee. So if I was doing a course in Slovenia, the person that's doing that course receives €490 per participant, which is the equivalent of €70 per day. And that's to cover the training and the costs of the trainer and any training materials. So if you have 10 participants, that course fee for the 10 days is €4,900. So it gives you an idea of the scope that you can do. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but you'll see in your notes that there's a step-by-step application process. It's not that complicated. It's all done online, and the key thing is to find a course that's either interesting for the group that you want to send, or put on a course that's going to be interesting for the group that you're going to attach. And Michael is telling us that he had a really good experience with Funded at Mirror Media. Brilliant. And I would love to include that, Michael, if that's okay. And your top tip is to keep on top of the promotion and contact, but it's well worth it. I would completely agree. Getting the it's no good just putting it there and hoping people will come and get you. That doesn't work. You have to really work hard at promoting it, but it's, as you say, well worth it in the end. Just a very quick overview of the deadlines for this mobilities. Basically, youth can apply up to 3 times per year, but the other one, the vocation for the older people amongst us, that's just once a year, and that's in February, for projects to start then in about April or May. And I mentioned, you're told in April or May, whether you've been successful or not. I mentioned key action 2 as so key action 1 is our mobilities, and key action 2 then is cooperation for innovation and the exchange of good practices, which is called strategic partnerships. Bear with me while the titles are a little bit long, but basically it allows different types of organisations across Europe to form strategic partnerships with each other to develop innovative ways of teaching, training and youth work. And then what you do is you share those results with the wider communities. And I can give no better example than the programme we're on now, and as part of this webinar is our creativecommunities.how project. You get all the details on the website, creativecommunities.how, involving partners, 2 from Ireland, ourselves, Momentum and Roscommon Leader Partnership, 2 from Northern Ireland, Banbridge District Enterprises, and Kieran is with us, and Canis Consulting, 2 from Poland, a university and a large chamber of commerce, and a really interesting lifelong learning college in Sweden. So it gave us the opportunity to work together, SMEs, a digital e-learning company, a local development agency, a chamber of commerce, representing different interests, but all working to make it easier for creatives to start up in business and stay in business. So that's interesting. Thanks, Noel. I appreciate that. The application deadline for key action 2 is actually the end of March, so not a lot of time, but it really is an interesting project, one we particularly enjoy. Basically, the program guide information is there. You define your project outline and work out how it fits with the European policy and national policy. Get support from Lergas by attending their information sessions. They're actually happening at the moment in Ireland, and what they're asking for is that you submit an outline, your idea in an outline form, and the link to it is there as well. Couldn't be easier, and send that into Lergas by, well, it says tomorrow, but sometimes they allow you to take it a little bit, to submit it a little bit later. So they will give you good feedback on that. Not sure if some of you are connected into the Enterprise Europe network as well. Very worthwhile looking in terms of SMEs looking for EU programs and support. Brilliant international brokerage events that you can get funding to travel to, and it also has a really good central database of SMEs. I don't know, I'll put the link up to the advert, but they actually mention a digital marketing person who won a contract in Austria as a result of her engagement in the Creative Europe network. That's in Ireland, that's run through the local enterprise office, and we put up the links for Northern Ireland as well. One of the areas that I'm encouraging to look at as well is crowdfunding, and the introduction to this will also be in your slides that we're providing. But again, when I'm asked about crowdfunding for creatives, there are different models. So again, it can be for people on a charitable basis donate to an individual project or organisation, or people can pre-sell, where for that donation people get something in return. It could be a CD, a print, or whatever. Peer-to-peer lending is where you have to repay the money, and it typically is each lender giving a very small amount of money to a project in return for a reward. And then at the upper end of the scale, we have equity lending, where people lend money in exchange for company shares, and that's typically much more in the media side of the house. Different platforms facilitate different fundraising methods, so it's it's about finding the right one for you. Advantages of crowdfunding: basically access to capital quickly without the rigid bureaucracy. Can happen very, very easily. And I suppose the disadvantage is that most of the crowdfunding platforms have an all or nothing model, meaning that if you don't reach your goal, if you say you're going to raise €1,000 and you only raise 900, you get nothing. And the money is returned back to the backers. So again, that can be off-putting, but it's down to good marketing as to how you get your project across. Different platforms charge different charges depending on the amount that you look for. Some of them will charge a platform hosting fee, and that can cost vary from 0 to 300. Some will ask for that up front, others won't. Most of the crowdfunding platforms will take a percentage of the total amount raised, and that varies between 3 and 12%. So it's really worth your while shopping around and making sure that you've got an interesting, you've got the best possible proposition. And then also watch out for service fees on transactions made. That can be an average of 3%. So again, it can be, tricky enough to find out what exactly these crowdfunding platforms are looking for. Some niche examples in the creative sector that I have been impressed by, one in the UK called Born. It's a market network where exciting new creators typically showcase their new products, and it's all about quality design and stylish engineering ingenious pioneering products. So that's a specific platform. Another one is on the performing arts specific. It's an Italian one, and basically it's all or nothing, but it's the first crowdfunding platform on community dedication performing art, and that's really interesting to see, and it's very encouraging to see. Only recently set up in the last year. Other examples, Crowdy House is a Dutch one. We're not sure of their costs, but again, it's a premier marketplace for designers and makers, and it's really, really good quality. And in Ireland, we're fortunate to have Funded. Some of you may have been involved in Funded in the past. It's really getting legs now. I really think it's beginning to gain a lot of attention, and it's Ireland North and South All Ireland crowdfunding website for Ireland's creative projects. So it's really, really good. One example is Michael Smith, a blacksmith in Sligo, used Funded on a very small scale, but a very important scale for him to attend an international blacksmith event in Cape Breton, and he got 16 backers to give him just over €1,000 to help bring his project to life. And his model is very interesting. You can see there what he offered to each of his donors. So they received a small gift from Michael for the pledges. So it worked really, really well for him. Look and see how he crafted his campaign. So looking at the key crowdfunding platforms, Kickstarter is the one I suppose that most people would know of, and it helps artists, musicians, filmmakers, designers and other creators to actually get the support they need to get that project off the ground. They provide really good resources, so check out their handbook and the link is there for you. One example that impresses us, and it's a Northern Ireland project, is C-Sense, and it's a really trendy bicycle lighting iconic product, and it's actually developed by cyclists for cyclists, and they did their campaign in 2013, really set the company up for great success, and they're flying it, and they actually doubled their pledge goal. So again, look and see how people have done their marketing behind these, and it would be good. And Kieran Cunningham tells us here that Backpack Furniture based in County Monaghan also was established through Kickstarter. So Kieran, we're going to include that in our materials. Thanks for that. And Noel Connolly, can individual cultural creative business apply for Creative Europe funding? No, what does work is where a group of at least 3 come together. And they don't have to be the same. So you could have, as I mentioned, a blacksmith, a graphic designer and a filmmaker all working together in a network, and then you can apply. Hope that answers your questions. Keep them coming. We're getting into this now. So again, one that's very close to Roscommon, where one of the partners is Amy Stevens. Amy is an artist, and she from the US, and she really wants to go to Roscommon to take up an artist in residency, which was funded by the Roscommon County Council, to work in a bakery. And actually, she produced a series of prints to reward her backers, of which she attracted 33, and she raised over $2,000, bringing the project to life. And again, really interesting as to how she made that happen. And not only are you getting people's money, but you have 33 people now who have collected her art with a print, and I would safely say will be advocates of her work going forward. So it's really, really an interesting way of getting funding for your project and getting your funding off the ground, whether it be for an event, new product development, training for yourself, whatever it may be. Some other crowdfunding platforms just to mention in Ireland, excuse me, iCrowdfund. This is an Irish crowdfunding company that provide the same people that behind I Donate, and a 4% commission there. And Linked Finance is a another Irish-owned crowdfunding website that has really good commission rates, 2.5. They operate on a fee basis. I suppose both of these are behind, you know, the model that you donate and you receive a reward afterwards. Linked Finance, the web there, and they're a very impressive platform for people wanting to raise small amounts of money. So I think that brings us back to the very end now. I would like to thank you so much for your patience and for staying with us. It's been my pleasure to help you. Stay in touch through the Creative Communities Igniting Change Facebook page, and take care. Thank you.